All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Happy English YouTube live streaming. That's right, this is a live stream, and it's not a video, it's live. And there's a chat box down here in the corner or on the side of the video. And if you wanted to chat and say hello, that'd be awesome. I'd like to welcome everybody here. I hope you can all hear me. Can you guys hear me? If somebody could just type in the chat there, that would be awesome. This is my first time to do this, so I'm hoping that the sound and everything else is working. It seems to be. Let's see. On my end, it says you guys can hear me. And so that's my question. That's my first question. We have a lot of things to talk about today. A lot of you have sent questions in, and I appreciate that. Thank you for sending in your questions. And I'm going to get to those. I have those right here. During this show, if you have a question that you'd like to ask, you can feel free to type your question in there, in the chat box there. Alrighty, and I'm just wondering, can somebody just type something there in the chat? I want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. I hope you can. All right, let's get to it. So, the first question comes from Chu Thien from Vietnam, and Chu asks, oh, it works. Beatrice, thank you so much. Your question is coming up. Vincent, audio is okay. Awesome. Okay, so Chu Thien asks, how to speak English fluently and automatically as a native speaker. And a similar question came from Flavio, and Flavio asked, do you think it's possible to reach good English fluency just by listening and reading? Because Flavio said that he doesn't have the opportunity to speak English where he lives. So let me just tell you for a moment my basic philosophy about language learning, because I'm also a language student. I started learning Japanese, oh my God, 26 years ago. And so I know what it's like to live in another country and to try and learn another language. And so this is what I think. Language has input and output. And input is reading and listening. And output is speaking and writing. So those are the four basic components of any language. And so if you want to improve your language skills and speak more fluently and be able to remember vocabulary, then I think it's a great idea if you can do those four things every day. So try to read something in English. And, now we have the internet, it's really easy to find things to read. I've got a lot of things you can read on my homepage, myhappyenglish.com. You can read any website that you want in English. It's very easy to get reading material, or books, or something like that. So try to read something every day. And why reading? Well, do you remember when you were a child in elementary school and your parents and your teachers made you read a lot of books and read all the time? Well, the reason for that is because your teachers and your parents wanted to help you develop and keep your vocabulary active in your head. And it's the same thing with English. Maybe you've learned a lot of English words before, but you haven't had the opportunity to use them or to speak those words. And then what happens? You have this word that you remembered, like, for example, one of my favorite idioms, A cup of joe. It's a cup of joe. So joe is a slang word for coffee. It's not an idiom. It's slang. So joe is a slang word for coffee. How can you remember that? It's a cup of joe. Well, you might read that somewhere in a book, okay, and that'll help you remember it. But the second thing is writing. And if any of my students are watching right now, my private lesson students, you know that I make you write something every day. And that's because you've got that new vocabulary. And how can you remember it? Well, one way is to write something. So you might open your notebook every day and start writing a little journal like, today I had a cup of joe. If you have that input where you read it and then the output where you use it, then you're going to remember the vocabulary. So I think reading something in English every day and then writing something in English every day. Writing is great. You know, if you read a story, you can write a summary of the story, or you could write a journal about what you did today. For example, today I woke up early and I watched Michael's YouTube live show, something like that. And then speaking and listening. And again, the internet provides a lot of great resources. Look at YouTube. How much English is on YouTube that you can practice listening to? English learning videos like this one, or American TV programs. So I like Friends. I know it's a little bit old, but I think Friends is a great TV program to learn English with. Another good one would be Big Bang Theory. So, but it doesn't matter which program it is, as long as there's a lot of talking. I don't think movies are effective for learning English, and I don't think police drama like CSI or 21, I don't think those are good for learning English either, because in a police drama or a movie, there are a lot of action scenes. And there's nobody talking. The purpose of using something like a TV program or a movie to learn English is to listen and watch people speaking English. If half of the movie, like Star Wars, is, aliens fighting other aliens with laser beams, there's no dialogue there. There's no English conversation for you to listen to. So I prefer a TV program like Friends. So in summary, and then speaking. If you live in a place where you don't have the ability, or the opportunity, I should say, you don't have the opportunity to speak English with someone, and it doesn't have to be a native speaker. If you don't have the opportunity to speak English, then I would suggest doing something we call shadowing. Now, shadowing is basically where you watch a TV program, for example, and one of the characters speaks and you repeat that. So the characters, hey man, what's going on? Hey man, what's going on? Hey man, what's going on? And then you just repeat that phrase after the characters. That's one way to have speaking practice. The other thing that you can do, and you might think that this is crazy, but I did this when I was first trying to learn Japanese. You can talk to yourself in your house. So for example, when you wake up in the morning, you can, you walk into the washroom and you say, okay, I'm washing my face. Now I'm washing my face. Now I'm brushing my teeth. I am brushing my teeth. I think I'll have a cup of joe. Wow, this is a really good cup of joe. That's a good cup of joe. And so by speaking out loud, then you're actually practicing your fluency and practicing speaking. If you don't have the chance to, or the opportunity to speak with somebody using English. So just in summary, input and output, try to read something, listen to something, write something, and speak something in English every day, and that's going to help your English improve. That's the advice I give all my students. That's the advice that I give everybody. And that's the advice that I've given myself trying to learn another language. So thank you to Chu and Flavio for those questions. And then Mohammed from Cairo wrote in, and Mohammed asks how to improve vocabulary. And I think how to improve vocabulary, the best way to do that is to read. And when you read, if you're reading something, and I think if you're reading and you can understand about 60% of what you're reading without using a dictionary, that's the right material, that's the right level and the right material for you to read. Because if you can understand about 60, maybe 65% of a story or a book or an article on the internet without a dictionary, it means that you've got a lot of vocabulary in your head, which maybe, you don't use that vocabulary all the time, but you've learned it. And so that reading will activate that vocabulary and keep that vocabulary alive and help you to remember it. The second thing that you need to do when you want to improve your vocabulary and remember vocabulary is to use it. And so the two ways to use it is to speak it and write it. And let's talk about writing vocabulary. I'm sure that everybody watching this right now has some kind of a notebook where they've, written a word and the meaning, and then another word and the meaning, and maybe a translation into your own language. And you've got these lists of vocabulary, and you look at them every day, and you read them, and you study them. And then 20 minutes later, you probably can't remember anything. I've had that exact same experience. So what you need to do with vocabulary is you need to use it, and you need to use it in a sentence that's true for you and your world. So we'll go back to the same vocabulary, a cup of joe. What you can do is in your notebook, write that down and then write a few sentences. You can write, the definition. Joe means coffee. But then you can write, I drank 2 cups of joe this morning. Starbucks sells joe, but it's a little expensive. The joe that we have in my office is really good. Or, I hate joe. I never have a cup of joe because I'd rather have tea. I would rather drink tea than drink a cup of joe. And whatever the sentence is, as long as the sentence is true for you, you'll remember it, because then you can go back and you can study and review those sentences, and then you can remember the vocabulary, because if you say, yeah, I never have a cup of joe, that's true, I never have a cup of joe. Or, I have a cup of joe every morning. So that's how you can remember vocabulary. And thanks to Mohammed from Cairo. So thanks to everybody who's sent in a little comment there. If you have a comment or a question you want to put in the chat, that'd be great. Vincent is here. Hi, Vincent. Never a problem for being late. Jay Sang, glad you can hear me. Miriam, hello. Vincente, hello. Thanks for that. And Beatrice, thank you. Beatrice sent in a question. I'll get to your question now. Sent in a question. What's the difference between borrow and lend? That's a great question, because sometimes borrow and lend translate a little bit differently into other languages than the meanings in English. And so the basic idea of borrow and lend is this. Borrow means take or get. When you borrow something, you take it. You go to the library and you can borrow books. You take the book. You take the book from the library and you go home and you have the book. So you borrow the book. Borrow means take. Lend means give. It's the opposite. The library lends books. The library lends books. If you go to the library, they will give you a book. So lend means give, and borrow means take. That's the basic idea. And when we use borrow and lend, there's generally no money involved. It's different from the concept of rent. You go to the airport and you rent a car. And you rent a car. It means you pay some money and you take the car for a short time and then you return it. That involves money. It's a business transaction. And so borrow and lend are not business transactions. So you go to the library, you can borrow a book because the library lends books. And that's the basic difference between borrow and lend in English. Thank you, Beatrice, for that question. Fabrizio is here. Hello, Pool is here. Excuse me, Wawa is here. How can I improve my writing skill? Everybody asked that question too. How can I improve my listening skill? How can I improve my writing skill? This might sound like a really basic answer, but the answer is do it. If you want to be a better writer, then you should write something every day. There's no magic. And I've seen a lot of advertisements these days on the internet for, you can learn English in 30 days. Or, you only need 5 minutes a day to become fluent. No. Sorry. That's no. You need to work at it. Learning a language is not like memorizing or learning history and memorizing a fact. Like in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. We learn that in elementary school here in America. It's a fact. Language is different. Language is something that you use to communicate. And so communication, as I said before, it involves reading, speaking, listening, and writing. So if you want to improve your writing, then you got to write. You got to write something every day. That's the best thing, and that's the best advice that I can give you. Just do it, and practice. Try to write a journal. I have all of my students write a journal every day. I think it's important to have the output and to write something, or write essays. There's a great resource if you look at the ETS. ETS is the company that produces the TOEIC and the TOEFL. Excuse me, 1 second. ETS is the company that produces the TOEIC and the TOEFL Pool, right every day. ETS produces the TOEFL and the TOEIC exam. And for TOEFL, there's an essay. And ETS has a great reference. It's a little booklet that has like 200 or 250 essay writing topics, which you can use to practice writing. And it's free on the ETS website. And the topics are very general things like, some people prefer living in a small town. Other people prefer living in a big city. How about you? Which do you prefer? That's the kind of question. And if you want to practice your English fluency, you can take that same booklet from ETS of writing topics, and you can use those topics to talk about your opinion about those things. So it's good practice. That's a great resource. Pool asked, how about loan? So what I didn't mention before about borrow and lend is that lend is also used in the banking world. And in the banking world, if you go to the bank and you ask for money, then the bank will lend you money, and that is a business transaction. And the money that the bank gives you is called a loan. So loan is a noun, and it means the money that you borrow from the bank. So we do use borrow and lend in a banking situation, but that's the only time that it involves, it's the only time that borrow and lend involve using money. Okay, next. Pinar from Turkey asked, how do I learn gerunds and infinitive verbs? So again, that's like vocabulary and idioms. In English is a very strange language because I can say, I like eating pizza. I like eating pizza. Or, I like to eat pizza. After like, you can have the infinitive, the to verb, or the gerund, eating. I like to eat, I like eating. But other verbs don't work that way. I want to eat pizza. I enjoy eating pizza. I can't say I enjoy to eat pizza, and I can't say I want eating pizza. So some verbs are always followed by a to verb, the infinitive. I want to eat pizza. And some verbs are always followed by the gerund, that's the ing. I enjoy eating pizza. So you have to just memorize it. And how do you memorize it? You write sentences, just like I said before. So in your notebook, you write, I enjoy eating pizza. I enjoy going to the movies. I don't enjoy playing golf. Something like that. Whatever it is that's true for you, and I can't stress this enough, when you write sentences to practice vocabulary or to practice grammar, it's got to be a sentence that's true for you. That's why I think many English language textbooks are not helpful, because the sentences talk about people and things that have no connection to you. Frank and Jack have just returned from their trip to Paris. Who's Frank? Who cares? I didn't do that, but you can say, I have just returned from work. So I have just returned from work. That's true for me. Or I have just finished dinner. Okay, that's a true sentence. So that's the best way to study and to remember things in another language, English. Makij Lapod. Wow, I just totally destroyed your name from Warsaw, Poland. Sorry, but thanks for visiting today. And I don't have my glasses on, so it's really hard to read too. Majij. I hope that's right, but thank you for coming. Okay, Marta asked a question, and if you guys have questions that you're watching here, you guys have questions, feel free to ask in the chat box there. Marta asks, when can we use the expression so far, and what's the meaning? So far means until now. Until now. So far, I have answered about 5 questions from you guys. So far. It means from the past until now. And generally, we use the present perfect when we say that. So far, I have answered about 5 questions here on the live chat. I can say, so far, I've had 2 cups of joe this morning. It means until now, I've had 2 cups of joe this morning. So far means until now. Bertha asks, I put off my PIRF hangout for next week to touch base with you today. Yes, put off means to postpone. And what? Touch base. Touch base means to connect with somebody. So we use that a lot in conversational American English. You can say to your friends or your coworkers, I'm taking a business trip tomorrow. I'll touch base with you when I get to the airport. Or I'll touch base with you next week. It means I'll connect with you or I will contact you when I get there. So that's great. Poole says, so far, so good. Right. So far, so good. It's a great idiom using so far. And, oh, my list is falling down. It's a great idiom using so far, and it means from the past till now, so far, everything is okay. So when you do something new or you start something new, and from the time that you started until now, everything is okay, you can say, if someone says, hey, how's your new job? So far, so good. It means from the beginning until now, it's okay. It's good. Or, oh, you're starting to learn how to play tennis. How's that going? Yeah, so far, so good. So from the beginning until now, everything's okay. That's so far, so good. And what other questions do we have today? Mary asked about infinitives of purpose. Okay, we use the infinitive, that's the to verb, to talk about the purpose or the reason for doing something. So, I went to Starbucks to buy coffee. That's a very basic example. I went to Starbucks to buy coffee. A lot of students and a lot of English learners make the mistake of saying, I went to Starbucks for buying coffee, which doesn't really work and it doesn't sound natural. If you want to talk about the reason you did something, you can say the infinitive. I went to Starbucks to buy coffee. I went to the library to do some research. To do some research. That's the purpose of going to the library. So I went to the library to do research. So we use the to infinitive to talk about the reason for doing something. Miriam asked, can you use so far in a negative sentence? Yeah. So far, I haven't put milk in my coffee. Or, so far, I haven't seen the new Harry Potter movie. I haven't seen the new Harry Potter movie so far. It means from the past until now, I haven't seen that movie. So yeah, you can use so far in a negative or in a positive sentence. So long. Sometimes my students tell me that I talk so long. Isn't that right, Fabrizio? Or Vincent, or whoever else is watching today. So long means for a very long time. Okay, so yesterday at the meeting, the company president spoke so long. By the way, we also use the phrase so long. Nadia, hello, welcome. We also use the phrase so long to mean goodbye. So long is also a goodbye greeting, which just means goodbye. See you tomorrow. Okay, so long. Like that. All right. What's the next question? Lily from the Republic of Georgia asked about the difference between for me and to me. And that's a really, really great question because prepositions in English are really, really tricky. And so, for me, to me. For me, to me. So, to, here's the basic thing. To shows movement. I went to the park. I went to the park. Or, please give this pen to Jack. So you see the movement of the pen from me to Jack. Please give the pen to Jack. So to shows movement and for shows a benefit. So I could say, I made this coffee for you. I made this coffee for you. In other words, it's your benefit. This is for you. Now I will give this coffee to you. So you see the movement there. Please give that to, I will give that to you. Please give that to me. So to me shows some movement in the direction of me. Come to me. You could say to your children or the dog, hey, come to me. But for me, it was my birthday, and my coworkers bought a birthday cake for me. So they bought a birthday cake for me. It means it's my benefit, that birthday cake. They gave the birthday cake to me. That shows movement. All right, so that's the difference, basic difference between for and to when we talk about for me or to me. Hori, hello. I hope I didn't ruin your name. So far, so good as an idiom. It means follow me at. It means or follow me at what I am saying. So far, so good. And Bertha. Bertha, that's a lot of baseball. That's a lot of baseball idioms. I will try to get to some of those, but we have a lot of idioms in English that come from baseball. So hit a home run. When you hit a home run, that's a goal in baseball. So if you've done something perfectly, you hit a home run. For example, if you take an exam and you get a perfect score, you could say, I hit a home run on my exam. If you have success in a business meeting, you could say, we hit a home run in those negotiations. A ballpark figure. The ballpark is where we play baseball. And for some reason, we use the phrase a ballpark figure to mean an average or an estimate amount of something. So please give me a ballpark figure. How much is it to rent an apartment in New York City? Well, a ballpark figure is about way too much. All right. Miriam, Lily, that's me. Hello, Rodrigo. Hello. Thanks for joining us. What else? Oh, Marcio from Brazil. Marcio asked, how come Americans insist on using the simple past instead of the present perfect? If there's anybody out watching this who studies British English, or if there are any British people watching this video today, I'm really sorry. But Americans don't like to use the present perfect. And what I'm going to tell you now in this next section of this live lesson is, this is conversational English, folks, mostly. So don't use this on an exam, okay? Because your teacher, they won't score it properly. You won't get a good score. So here's an example. Hey, are you hungry? No thanks. I already ate. I already ate. I already ate. So the correct or grammatically proper answer to I have already eaten is I have already eaten. But Americans tend not to say I have already eaten. We tend to just use the simple past because our attention is on the event that happened in the past. I already ate means I'm thinking about 1 hour ago when I was sitting in my kitchen having breakfast. I already ate at that point in time. Are you hungry? No, I've already eaten. So the present perfect, and in case you didn't know, we call it the present perfect because it has a connection to the present. I have lived in New York since I was born. I have lived in New York since I was born. So when I was born until now, I am living in New York. So I have lived in New York, the present perfect, have lived, shows a connection between the past and the present. But Americans, in a lot of cases, tend not to use the present perfect when we talk about a past event. Have you seen the new Harry Potter movie? No, I didn't see it yet. So that's a typical answer in American English, as opposed to, oh no, I haven't seen it. So if you happen to be taking an English exam, my advice is always use the present perfect when you want to connect something from the past until the present. But in conversation, don't be surprised if you hear Americans not using the present perfect and just using the simple past. Are you hungry? Nah, I already ate. I already had a cup of joe. So I hope that's helpful for you guys and for Marcio. Thank you for asking. It's a really great question. One time I did a lesson on my blog. And by the way, if you just take a look down there, it says myhappyenglish.com. I've got over 1,000 free lessons there. So videos, podcasts, other lessons. So check it out. But I did a lesson one time a few years ago, and somebody posted a comment under the lesson, and they said, you Americans are destroying the English language. Sorry. Wasn't my plan. I'm just a messenger. I didn't create it. So, and I think English is a very, very illogical language sometimes. So I think English in some ways has destroyed itself. Here's an example. Using the, we need to say the in front of an ocean. The Pacific Ocean. The Mediterranean Sea. And we need to use the for a river. The Nile River, the Amazon River, the Mississippi River. But we don't use the for a lake. Lake Michigan, Lake Ontario, Lake Biwa. It's a mystery to me too. Let's see, Vincent. Oh, Veronique said hello. Hello, Veronique. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thanks, Vincent, for passing that along. Hello, Pedro. Hello from the Canaries Island. Wow, it must be nice there. If you live in a place that has island, it sounds like it's going to be a nice place. All right, so what other questions do we have? Sherzan asked about the phrase dry as a bone. And he asked, why is, if we say that, right now my throat is as dry as a bone. What does that mean? If something is as dry as a bone, we imagine that the bone with all of the meat taken off, just sitting there, is very, very dry. So that's why we say it's as dry as a bone. I hope that's a helpful answer for you. Alexander, hello from Ukraine. Thank you for coming this afternoon. I guess this is an afternoon by you. All right, what other questions do we have here today? Phrasal verbs. Domingos asked, how can we learn phrasal verbs? And David wrote and said, should I say, I came across my friend, or I came my friend across? So that's a tough one, because again, English is a little bit of an illogical language. The basic concept of a phrasal verb is some phrasal verbs you can separate, like pick up. I picked up my boss at the airport. Or I picked my boss up at the airport. So I picked up my boss. I picked my boss up. Both are okay. Some phrasal verbs you can't separate. So, come across is a great example of that, David. So, I came across an interesting story in the news. So, come across can't be separated. You can't say, I came an interesting story across. It doesn't work. And why is that? Great question. I don't know why that is. It just is. And sometimes when you learn another language, and especially English, because English is a little illogical. English is very illogical sometimes. You just have to memorize it. Don't overthink. Why come across is we can't separate it. Doesn't matter why. You can't separate it. And you just have to memorize it. So how do you learn phrasal verbs? Just like I said before, the same way that you learn everything else. You need to take that phrasal verb, come across. Come across means to find accidentally or without trying. So if I say, I came across an interesting story about SpaceX, it means I was looking through the news and I found that story there. I wasn't looking for it, but I found it. I came across that story. So how do you remember that? Well, you write in your notebook, your vocabulary notebook, you write, I came across an interesting story today, or I came across Michael's live YouTube, or I came across some old pictures when I was cleaning the garage. So that's how you can remember that. But the basic concept of phrasal verbs, for most phrasal verbs, not including come across, is that if you can separate the phrasal verb, like turn on, you can say, turn the light on, or turn on the light. So the noun can come at the end or in the middle. Turn the light on. Turn on the light. If you exchange a pronoun for the noun, it has to come in the middle. So you can say, turn the light on. Turn on the light. Turn it on. But you can't say, turn on it. That's the rule. So either the noun would come in the middle or at the end, pick my friend up, pick up my friend, or the pronoun, pick him up, and him comes in the middle. And that's the basic rule for phrasal verbs. Membo. Hello, thank you for watching. Thanks to everybody who's watching here this morning. If you're in North America or South America, sorry, it's early. I know, it's Saturday morning. People like to sleep in. Do you like to sleep in? Sleep in is a great phrase. Sleep in means to sleep longer than usual. And it's your plan to do so. That's different from oversleeping. If you oversleep, it means it's an accident. Maybe your alarm clock didn't go off, or you were sleeping, the alarm clock went off, you turned off the alarm clock, and then you kept sleeping, and then you woke up 1 hour late. Oh my God, I overslept. I'm late. Oversleep means it's an accident. It means you slept too much and there's a problem. You're going to be late for work, late for a class. But to sleep in, it means I'm going to sleep later than usual because I have nothing else to do. I'm going to sleep in today. And so I didn't sleep in today. Actually, I generally don't sleep in. But I didn't sleep in today because I'm here with you guys, which is awesome. I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so glad that you could all join me for this. This is my first live YouTube lesson. In fact, I haven't done many live lessons like this before. I did a couple of times on Periscope, but this is a lot of fun. Actually, I hope you guys are having fun. I'm having a lot of fun doing this with you. So if you're watching this and you're living in North America or in South America, sorry, it's early in the morning, but For you guys that are watching in Europe, the Middle East, or in Asia, it's later in the day. So thank you for taking time out of your day off or the middle of your day to come and check it out. Natalie, hello from Ukraine. Thanks for coming. Savio, hello. Thanks for visiting and for watching. Give varieties for using such. Here's the basic idea of such. Nadia, thanks for asking. So and such. It's such a nice day. It's such a nice day. He is such a nice guy. We use such plus a noun or a noun phrase. So you can say, he is such a gentleman. Or, this is such an interesting English lesson. But you can't say, he is so gentleman, or this is so an interesting lesson, because we use so plus an adjective. This cup of joe is so delicious. It's so cold today. I am so happy to be here with all of you guys. So use so plus an adjective, and use such plus a noun or a noun phrase. That's such. What other questions do we have here? So far we did that, and we did. Okay, that takes care of all of I think I've answered all of the questions that people sent in. If you guys have any questions, why don't you type them there, and I would be happy to answer those for you. Also, what do you think? Would you like to see another Happy English live on YouTube? Are you having fun here today? Yes, I hope so. I hope so. So just as a recap, because we're almost towards the end of this session, I think the key point that I've talked about, and I've talked about a couple of times, is the answer to the question, how can I improve and how can I study? And the best thing that you can do is try to read something in English every day, speak something in English every day, listen to something in English every day, and write something in English every day. And remember, listening and reading is input, speaking and writing is output. If you don't have the chance to speak English, maybe you live in a place where you're the only person who speaks English in your town or in your area, and you don't have the chance to speak English, then you need to write. Because if you read only and just read and listen and no output, it's not going to help you as much. You have to have some kind of output. You need to use English. You need to write it or speak it. And as I mentioned before, I think it's okay to walk around your house and talk to yourself using English. It helps your fluency. Another great thing is to sing. Yeah, maybe I'm not the best singer. If you guys saw my last YouTube video of those idioms, Hit the Road, you heard me singing. Oh my God. But singing is also a great way to get English to flow out of your mouth in a fluent way. Nadia says she's drinking a cup of Joe. Yeah, I think I drink too much Joe. That's the problem. Alrighty, well, I think, so Mariam, is there a thing you're spelling the difference between about what? I want to use, which one can we use in a sentence like this? It's the same to me. Oh, Miriam, okay, gotcha. Mariam, gotcha. It's the same to me. It's the same for me. That's a great question. What's the difference? It's the same. Do you want to have pizza or a burger for lunch? It's the same to me. It's the same for me. It's the same to me. It's the same for me. I think there's really no difference there. It's the same to me. For me. I think we would, a native speaker would use both of those phrases interchangeably. Do you want to go to the park or to the beach? It's the same for me. Or, it's the same to me. I think it's the same to me, for me, those. I hope that's helpful. Alrighty, I think that's our time for today. Listen, thank you so much for everybody for joining me today on this live YouTube. I will definitely do another one soon. If you'd like to get more information about me, please check out myhappyenglish.com. I think it's over there if my pointing is in the right direction, or maybe it should be over there. Anyway, thanks to everybody for coming. I appreciate the chat. And if you'd like me to answer some other English questions in a future YouTube Live, then feel free. It's on that side. Everything's opposite. Then feel free to send me a message or an email. And don't forget to visit myhappyenglish.com. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody here has a great day. I don't know how to turn this thing off. Something like that. Okay, thank you so much. And I will see you next time right here at Happy English. See you guys. Bye-bye.